Today, I'm joined by Mahmood Reza, founder and director of I Hate Numbers, based in the UK. Welcome, Mahmood, and thank you for joining Caspio's podcast. So can I please ask you to introduce yourself and share with everyone a little bit about your background?
Absolutely, Paul. So if I give you a little potted history here.
Yeah.
So I'm one of 9 kids. I'm the one in the middle, the cutest one who gets ignored, but the one who probably gets up to stuff nobody else should do. So I'm originally born in London. I've emigrated to Leicester a few years ago. I've got a good skincare regime, so that keeps me looking young. And my first paid career after my first degree is I took some time off, having done my first degree. I majored in law, did a minor in accountancy and maths, took some time out to think, what do I want to do next? And I went backwards. So I went into teaching first of all, did that for 3 years, and I consciously left that, not because I didn't like teaching, but in the UK, if you're a teacher, people think you're rubbish at everything else. So I thought, I'm not having that. So I jumped ship, no job to go to. And then about 2 or 3 months late after that, and I think that's where I got my risk appetite from, I then went into industry. I worked for a hospitality company, aka a brewer, which was good, obviously, because you get a nice little beer allowance and everything else handed out to you on a monthly basis. Did that for 5.5 years, qualified as an accountant, got some other post-grad qualifications. And I thought, you know what? I love the world of accountancy, but there's going to be something else going on. So again, the second time in my life, I jumped ship once more. Then, did you know what? I thought about it from when I was younger. I did a few entrepreneurial things when I was at school and growing up, from managing bands, running little coffee shops at school, lost property things. And I started working for myself in my back bedroom. Probably didn't make a great deal of money in the first few years. And then 30 years later, I had managed to move out of my back bedroom. Now I now run 2 companies. One's called I Hate Numbers, which, a little plug, is the type of my book, and also a company called Numbers Know How.
Great stuff. So obviously, what a varied background. So for those that are listening that are not aware of I Hate Numbers, can you share with everyone a little bit about what the company does?
So I Hate Numbers, is a company that, I'll give it the old-fashioned term of accounting services, but accounting services with a difference. We're very client-focused. We know that most of our successful clients are businesses, freelancers, large companies, small companies, is they're great at what they do. But when it comes to finances and numbers, they either want to gouge their eyes out or they're not very good at it. So we're there to support those people who are literally modest freelancers who, make a nice little tick over income, or companies that are much larger. We provide accounting services, tax services, management accounts, tax work, and anything that's within that number space to help them improve their businesses and make more money and reduce the overwhelm in their heads.
Yeah. So Mahmood, you mentioned that you've got a book coming out. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's called I Hate Numbers, and effectively, it's not aimed at accountants. No disrespect to any accountants out there, which I obviously am one, but it's effectively just charting the life of self-employment, running a business, talk about all the various things that I think that come across a business person's, entrepreneur's mind. So about planning, which I'm a big fan of, about getting a grip with your numbers. Your numbers are your best friend in business. They don't lie to you; they tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Also about the overwhelm that business owners can experience. The book's been out for about a year or two, so obviously if anyone wants to buy it, I'll be more than happy. I'll be very happy to get my island in the sun somewhere on the back of the royalties. So yeah, and there's another book I'm planning to bring out, if not at the end of this year, probably next year as well.
There was something that I read on your LinkedIn profile. It said, helping you run a business, not a hobby. I love that quote.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, Paul. I mean, you must have come across it yourself, is that I find lots of business owners, for a number of reasons, they get advice from all over the place. And there's a lot of time they expend and a lot of energy, a lot of commitment, but they don't actually make any profits. They don't. And for me, fundamentally, I think you need to assimilate and be comfortable with the idea of making money. What you do with it is your choice. But if you don't generate profits, not just revenue, you won't sustain yourself. You won't be able to give yourself a good standard of living. You won't be able to reward your staff and your team. And for me, it's important that we transition out of that, spending the time that's wasted, and actually just become proper business people again.
Yeah, makes sense. So you've been a Caspio customer now for just over 3 years. Can you remember what the key challenges were, Mahmood, that you came to Caspio you were looking at low code for?
Yeah, 100%. So I did a bit of research. Okay, so I've always had this idea of doing an online product here in the planning space for me.
Yeah.
I looked at the options here, was writing code from scratch, and I think, do you know what? Because I'm a big believer of sort of lean type manufacturing, getting things out to market as quick as possible. What's the best way of doing that? And for me, Caspio ticked the boxes in a lot of areas for doing that. So my first experience was I'm not an IT technical specialist here. I'm a user driven person who knows what they want, probably unrealistically for our development team. And Caspio is the ideal product for us to tap into to give us that framework, to give us that database. Customer service is good, so that's really good. And we've managed to progress from a concept to actually a product that's out there in the marketplace now.
Mahmood, what were your first impressions? You said you don't have a technical background. So when you started to interact with the Caspio team, how did you find that?
To be fair, actually, I have to say, I did some desk research, some due diligence on a number of suppliers out there.
Yeah.
Caspio came up quite a lot of times. There was a lot of social proof there, people saying, yeah, these are good stuff. I did
Good to hear. Yeah.
And I wasn't quite sure what to expect, because what I do know about software production, it's a very akin to, it's not the easy slot machine that people think it is.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of effort, a lot of energy, mistakes will be made. It can drain a lot of resources, both in terms of time, money, cash, and everything else here. And I wasn't quite sure, what I was letting myself in for. I tend to be not quite impetuous or reckless or risky, but I prefer to step forward and try something as opposed to just planning it on the drawing board. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But in terms of the support I've had over the last 3 years, it's made me renew my contract with Caspio without any hesitation.
No, thank you for sharing that, Mahmood. So can you share with everyone a little bit about what your Caspio application is, what it does, and kind of who the end users are?
Absolutely. So what we've got a product called Budget Whizz. And the idea is, we initially started the development process because I'm a big fan of planning.
Yeah.
And I don't mean a plan. I mean a planning mindset that looks forward through the windscreen.
Right.
And for me, there's a number of things here. So I've got this strap line called Plan It, Do It, Profit. So it's all very well coming up with a financial plan. It's about understanding your business, the things that contribute to the success, financially otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's about making a financial plan that some years of the future. That's part of it. It's understanding where the revenue comes from. And the product is there to say, I'm a supermarket, so I sell fresh fruit, vegetables, household products. I'm a brewer, so I sell all these variety of products. But also to connect it so you can monitor your progress. And I think, Paul, you look a very sort of person who keeps himself in shape and all the rest of it. So then if you're a gym person, but for me, somebody's nice to have a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to monitor your progress there. And for me, I wanted something that people could tap into, do it easily. And we're still learning by those. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we are at the finish, that we won't ever be at the end line. And therefore it's a planning tool. It's online. People can plan several years ahead. It's multidisciplinary. So it goes across different business sectors. And whatever somebody can do in Excel, this is Excel on steroids.
Yeah.
That's what we're aspiring to do.
Well, you said, Mahmood, that you're always looking to progress. How's your application evolved over the last 3 years?
Yeah, well, it's evolved from, I said, a concept board.
Yeah.
We had, because I'm always relatively new to software development, I had tried software development before with different people on different platforms, different ways of doing that. That didn't really come to anything. So a lot of time and energy. I won't say wasted, because I think even if you have something that doesn't quite get to market, there's still lessons you can draw. There's still conclusions that you can make from that. And it's always about a learning experience. I think it was at Einstein, when somebody put to him about failing 10,000 times, he said, well, not really. This is just 10,000 iterations to get to the end point there as well. So it's easy to have something in there. I just think it's always what I've learned over the last year or two is to be a bit more focused then about what the application is for, who the users are. And now we're actually in that medium that we've got it out there. We've got sign-ups there. And now we're just focusing on making the product, the core of it as best we can. Yeah. And actually just selling it and trying to persuade people that this is a product they need in their business. From a micro business, I think larger corporates probably wouldn't gravitate towards that because they're big enough to afford their own planning tools internally. Yeah. But for us, this is great for an SME tool, for whether it's arts, charities, whatever you are, the application is wonderful.
Yeah. So over the 3 years, Mahmood, has there been any unexpected benefits or outcomes that surprised you?
I think the biggest benefit is I've actually got something from a concept board and a drawer is saying to my developers, this is an Excel sheet. What can we do with that? So actually having something online, it's working. People can use it. The thing I like is because it's live and it's real. It's not making me any money in terms of what I want you to at this moment in time. Yeah. But for me, I always think that if you do something new, especially like software development, you've got to really build in about 5 years before you can actually start to see anything coming to a reasonable return on that product. So we're about 3 years in, and now I think we're pushing on to the sales cycle here.
Yeah.
So what surprised me is that somehow I've managed to keep it going, and I haven't just thought, let's give it up and try something else.
Yeah. Hear you. So we're always taking feedback from our customers, always looking to bring their feedback back into kind of our product roadmap and things. So how do you, as a company, bring feedback from your users back to you to make changes?
Right. So what we have, things in the very beginning was a bit, I would say, haphazard how we did that.
Yeah.
So we now got a project management tool. There aren't other tools available. So we use Slack.
Yeah.
I've got other people now stress testing the product as we go through, getting that user experience. We've invited users in. In the early stages, we went to a company who helped us get people to test it and give us their feedback, because it's otherwise you end up designing a product that's in your head.
Yeah.
Actually, people haven't actually used it. So we use Slack as a project management tool. We have regular catch-ups. I brought somebody else on board now who's there effectively to stress test it, check the quality, check the uploading, check all the bits work together. It's now plugged into our main numbers know-how site. And therefore, what we're just doing is all the time is about, I suppose, iteration and testing here. We're a very small development team. We haven't got the budget of like a Microsoft or a Google.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes not having massive budgets actually makes you think more smartly.
It keeps you focused. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, correct.
So was there any kind of the part of the last, especially bringing in a development team, was there kind of a time when you thought actually everything just clicked? You think this is exactly what we're looking for?
That's an interesting question, Paul. If I was to be brutally honest, I think just because of the sort of person that I am, it's clicked because we've had people using it and they've signed up and they've gone through it.
So just kind of reflecting over the last 3 years, Mahmood, has there any been learnings from your side? It sounds like you've got a development team that have come on board. Are they learning anything which has surprised you that way?
Yeah, very much so. I think there's a combination of learning experiences here. One is having people working together as a collective team there as well. So my developer, he's been with me from day one. Yeah. A good guy, turns it around. I think it's that communication. I think it's trying to keep that focus. I think it's trying, what I've learned is probably to focus on fewer things done well than lots of features where you do it not necessarily at full kill. So if I redesign things, I'd probably actually take my own advice and do things more of a minimum value proposition. Yeah. Get it out there. Do a more conscious drive to get people on board right at the very early stages of the development process, as opposed to doing the development behind closed doors and then letting people know it's going on. Over engineering thing is probably too much in the early stages. And that would probably be my biggest learnings here. And also to know that software development can work very well, get it out there. Just make sure you've got a careful eye on the cash flow as well. Yeah.
How many developers have you got working with you now, Mahmood?
I would say one main developer. Yeah. And probably 2 other people involved in the quality assurance side of things.
How are you actually targeting your customer base that you're going after?
Very loosely, actually. So I think that for what I know, what we're lacking at the moment, is that consistent marketing application, that consistent. And I'm working on the moment to actually recruit somebody and to think of ways that, as a team, development team, that somebody can be more focused on the business development side of things to go out there. I've got a plan for the second part of the year here where I'm going to be personally speaking post around about end of August, September, to go out more and do more appearances. I've got a YouTube channel, by the way, which is growing. I've just invested.
Yeah, give it a plug, Mahmood.
It's called I Hate Numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've also got a podcast called I Hate Numbers. And between me and you, I'm launching a new podcast later on this year. And for now, I'm just going to step up the plate and actually do more, talking people's groups, going out actually more conversations with people, having more talks, and really just focusing on the numbers know-how and the Budget Whizz there. So I'm going to take a step up also myself and just make sure that other parts that I'm doing at the moment, I just delegate that to other people in the team on the other businesses. So that's my target for the next 12 months, is to get out there more, show my face more. I've got a business development person coming on board later on. Obviously, if anyone wants to sign up to Budget Whizz, I'll be more than happy if they're going to do that. But I think that's the bit that's lacking, and that's the bit that we're going to address.
Sounds exciting. Next 12 months coming up for you then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm just kind of thinking if someone's listening to this, the podcast or watching the video, what advice would you give them if they're thinking about low code?
Think carefully what it is, what's your user requirements there.
Yeah.
So forget about, about what you want. What do you think, what's the need out there? So get a small circle of people, think about the opposition, think about the transformation you want them to make, think about the pain you want them to solve, think about the problem you want to resolve, and then think, what's my solution going to be? What's what I call MVP? What's the minimum viable proposition? We as business owners, we overstate the quality threshold we need.
Yeah.
It has to be happening. And I'll take this analogy, Paul. If I think about Microsoft, whatever you say about Microsoft when it first started, they're equivalent, I would say, to launching aircraft in the air with only half an engine running, and then they fix it as it goes along. But the fact is, that seems to be the model where most software providers did. For me, I overstated the quality it needed to be to get out there. So I would say, think about the problem you're trying to solve. Think about the minimum viable proposition. What would your customers be comfortable with? Focus on that, get it out there, and get feedback fast, fix and go along. And that's probably my best advice. And actually do a cash flow plan as well. Work out what your future looks like in 12 months. What's the cash outlay? What's the cash inflow? And make sure you've got the funding in place to do that. Don't do reactive management, do proactive management. Because I take my own advice in that direction of doing regular cash flows, looking ahead a couple of years at least, that I would recommend somebody does at least a 12-month cash flow forecast. If they don't, they're likely to get their fingers burned and run out of money very quickly.
Thank you. I think it's amazing advice. And it's interesting because every customer I speak to come to Caspio because they've got a problem they're looking to solve. So they're looking at the kind of what the end goal is, and then they're working backwards as to what features by using Caspio can help me get to that end goal as soon as possible. So it kind of resonates very much with what you're saying there. Mahmood, thank you so much for taking part in today's podcast and for being a Caspio customer for the last 3 years. I'm excited to be on this journey with you in the next 12 months and beyond, because it sounds like it's going to be an exciting period in your organization.
Absolutely. Paul, listen, thank you very much for inviting me along. Nice talking to you.
Talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye.